Do you hear the background sound? What up, guys? We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and I was gonna say Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, on all platforms. We're live, so guys, like and share this feed. Like and share this feed. We're excited to be to you guys for week number 87. I think it is.
Yes, 87.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so guys, like and share this feed. I'm excited because this week is such a great week. I think this is going to be an awesome week. If you guys haven't had a good week, I think this week is different from last week because, like, I think I was having a rough Monday through Wednesday last week, so I decided to pivot, and now I'm just realigning every single week. So it's really exciting because I'm able to let me start from the basics, and I think sometimes starting from the basics allows you to just like remember why you started things, remember why you started doing things, remember why you know why this was your passion. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just really going back to the basics, starting over again, and also just like having a different level of or different mindset towards just doing things differently. So I'm excited because today has been a great week once I decided to change my mindset and to move things forward.
Same here for me. One difference is I'm so tired. I'm like, is it daylight savings that's making me so tired? I had a long weekend, an eventful week, and I'm part of this association. My mindset coach came into my city and we did photo shoots, and it was just so amazing. It was awesome.
First of all, you've been
Um,
photo shooting it up. I appreciate that. You've been photo shooting it up, and I love that for you. I really do.
Well, thank you, sir. I love that for me too. But it was so good. We just got to connect with the women in our association, the Powerhouse Association, and we spent a lot of time together over the weekend. It was just Friday and Saturday, but I felt like I didn't get a chance to sleep. And I'm
Mhm.
like, is it because of daylight savings and that too? So I have been feeling very sluggish, still getting stuff done,
Mhm.
but I'm taking it a lot slower than I usually do this week. And so by next week, I should be back in the swing of things and ramping things up. The good thing about it is I actually took off of work this week. So I didn't
Oh,
have
that's
any
good.
appointments this week at all because I knew how things was going to go. And then I have a few clients that are coming into town that actually should be here either today or tomorrow, so I'm gonna connect with them in person. And
That's good.
so yeah, it's gonna be it's coming along. It's different here now, but it's just like I had to remind myself, you've been preparing for this.
Mhm.
You're not going to start saying, oh my God, I wish things were different. No, because this is what you've been asking for. So now that you're
Yeah.
getting there, don't try to despise, all the things that you've been desiring. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is the reason why we're talking about today about revisit the plan. There's some things that can happen that could take you off your game, where it's just like for example is for me, I'm working on a 6 week personal chef boot camp, and for me it's like I teach all the time, right? So it's not like I can't teach. I think it's just a different capacity, and just revisiting the whole e-course situation. I have e-courses, but now it's a different type of push. So now it's like, okay, Jay, revisit your plans, like revisit why you wanted to be a chef, revisit why you wanted to be a coach. And when you revisit the plan, you start to say, oh, you know what, I forgot I wanted to do this, I forgot I wanted to do this, or and I think so that's why it's good. Habakkuk 2 says, write the vision, make it plain. There's a reason why it says to write the vision, make it plain, so you can go back to it. Sometimes, like, I wasn't a big proponent of writing a business plan, right? But now, like, now that I'm older and I'm in my master's program, like, I see the benefit of having a business plan, because now I can go back and tweak. Because once you have a plan out, you want to carry out the plan, but some plans need to be changed, or some plans need to be revisited, or some dreams needs to be redreamed again. And I think I'm at that place now where, like, this past weekend I was with Chicago with two of my friends. These are like my sisters Halima and Tiffany, and we all went to Johnson & Wells together. And I think we have to be quick to go back towards the beginning, right? So it was such an impactful weekend for me because, like, we got to see my friend in her element, and we got to just have conversation that was just like, was just dope. It was refreshing just to relax as an entrepreneur, and just be around that energy that's provides so much love and feedback and energy. And I think once I did that, like this week I have like a whole different perspective towards life, because I'm like, wait, Jay, you sometimes you gotta just simmer down, chill out, and go back to the basics. Revisit your plans, see what's going on, see what needs to be pivoted. Because if you never do that, it's very hard for you to see your growth, right? Because sometimes we're in such like a rat race that we're always going, we're always rolling, but we never check for, hey, you know what, my goals were this. Did I reach those goals? Because sometimes you're such in the process of going that you don't ever take time to like say, hey, am I where I wanted to be? And you realize that, hey, you know what? I did accomplish this. Let me celebrate myself. Or, hey, you know what? It's something I wanted to accomplish and I kind of forgot about this goal. So let me revisit that. So it's so important to revisit your goals and your dreams, because there are some things that you got to redo, some things you got to check in, and some things you got to congratulate yourself on.
Some things you got to redo, check in, and celebrate yourself. I love that. And I love that you said growth should be measurable, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we're coming into business, in the beginning, we don't really, like for me, especially and the people that I was connected with, we didn't really measure the growth by the money, right? Especially if the money ain't money in the way that it should be. You don't want to be checking that negative or checking that, $0 all the time.
That part.
But it does something to you when you do check it. And then after months of 000, you start seeing 1,000, and then 1,000, 1,500, and then 2,000, and then 3,000. And it may go up and down, but you're able to measure like what you've been doing, right? If you're not measuring it, if you 1 month you make 1,000, the next month you make 500, the next month you make 3,000, and you're not actually calculating that and measuring it, you're not really looking to see what things that you're doing in that particular time frame that's causing the spikes, that's causing you to go up or down. And so not only are we measuring just the using like quantitative data, the numbers, we also should be measuring the qualitative data, like you said, with the goals. Are we actually achieving the goals that we set out to achieve? And if we don't write this thing down, how do we know that we're actually achieving what we said? How do we know that we're growing if we're not measuring from the starting point to where we are? How do we know to celebrate? A lot of us do it by the feeling. Like this week, I ain't feeling it.
Yeah.
And if I was, not actually checking like I did today and looking at my numbers, I had to go back and look at my numbers, and I grew from January to February. And I was like, well, come on, sis, what did you do? Oh, you opened up another cohort. So since you opened up another cohort, you got more money coming in. And
That's
so
good.
just things like that will help you to see that although you don't feel like it sometimes, because trust me, baby, I ain't feeling like it at all. I want to go in my bed and go to sleep. You can still see that you are growing in certain areas, right? And so go back and revisit the plan. One thing I loved is the celebration portion and being able to look at those measurable goals. Like I had in 2022, for some reason, Chef J, maybe the Holy Spirit knew you were going to talk about this today. Yesterday, I pulled open my Vivid Vision from May 3rd, 2022, and it's for every 3 years, and I got to revise it next year on May 3rd, right? And I'm sitting here yesterday and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, wow, I have been able to accomplish a lot of what I wrote down in my Vivid Vision. I had read the book the same year. And for me, whenever I read a book, I always, do the steps. I don't just read to read. I do it so that I can have some action behind it. And so reading the book with the same name, I said, let me go ahead and implement this for my business first. And I wrote down the mission, the vision, what people will feel when they see my brand, what my customers would be like. I mean, everything in detail. I wrote down that I would have my academy. In 2022, I didn't have my academy. I just started my academy November of 2023. Like I wrote down my academy. I wrote down what it would look like. I wrote down that we have monthly group sessions, right? They would have access to a private community. I wrote down like all of this stuff, VIP day, like all of this that I wrote down in 2022. I'm looking back at it now. I'm like, oh my God, the vision that I saw, I'm literally living in most of it today. And I can celebrate that. But if I had not written that down, what would I would have stuff to celebrate, but I wouldn't see that I am able to manifest with my words, with my mouth, the things that I want to come to pass. So you know what I'm about to do? In 2025, I'm about to double down on this thing. I'm about to go bigger than I did before because I have empirical evidence that what I say comes to pass.
That's good. I started thinking about when you were talking about that, and I had this conversation yesterday with my friends. I was thinking about scribes, right? The whole purpose of scribes was to record history, right? And you think about it, is there's so many times that we would not have history because um, it wasn't recorded. Like even to like researching Frederick Douglass, what he did was he will always take a photo with every chance he got. The reason why, he said, because we weren't big into seeing blacks in history, he wanted to let you know we were here. And I think the biggest part about like writing your goals and your dreams down and documenting, like even in my class, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you always see that I always post like what's going on in my classroom. And sometimes my students they get annoyed with me doing that. But the reason why is it tracks your growth. Like it's important to really document your growth, because if you never if you never document your growth, you never know how far you've come. I love to see my old stuff I post. I'm like, bro, that was some raggedy stuff you posted, about certain food or certain things I like, dishes I made. But now when I get reminders on Facebook or Instagram or even Snapchat, I appreciate that, because I'm like, wow, like this is what I used to do. And I was so excited to put that at now at the age I am now. I'm like, I would never put that out now. So I think by documenting your growth and revisiting, you let yourself know that, hey, you know what, this is where you were then, but like take time to really analyze your growth. Like I love, like when I do my books, I usually do it every year, but now I'm starting to do my books at least every single month, because I want to see my growth from this January to last January. Let's see my growth from this month to last month. And I think as you start to be more intentional about your documentation, intentional about your plan, I think is more so it helps you set better goals that are more realistic and goals that are faith goals. Like I have goals that are much big into faith, and I have goals that are much big into like planning and execution. Like my faith goals are my big goals. Like right now, I know that I want to be a millionaire by a certain time. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like those are my faith goals. But then I have my more so like planned out goals. Okay, so what can I do in the natural to start making those things happen? Right. And let me revisit those. Like I look at like different things with like one of my things now I want to work on getting out of debt. So right now is I have my Credit Karma account. I see what I have going on written out. So this is my plan of action to pay this off, to knock this out. And I think when you're a person who is creative, sometimes we're so creative that we just wing everything. And winging it is great, but winging is going to take you so far because you want to have longevity with what you're doing. And I think about, how do I get longevity if I'm always just rolling, if I'm just always like kind of go with the flow? It's great to go with the flow, but that flow has to have a direction. And I think if I never take time to realize what the direction is, it's very easy to just fall into the okey doke, and you've never really realized that, hey, I need to edit this because this is not how I want my life to be. And I think the more I start to revisit and to take those moments to quiet myself or to like to rethink about stuff, I'm like, you know what, I don't think I want that for my life. Let me edit this. Or, I want to experience this more, so let me do this. Like right now, like I have not been consistent with my online courses. So I'm so excited about this 6-week class I'm doing, because I'm like, and I think sometimes too is the reason what took me so long to put another course out for chefs is because I feel like sometimes, YouTube University, we always want that, when honestly it's just a heck out of it. People are willing to pay for what you have. But I think when your mindset is like, it's nobody gonna pay for that, nobody's gonna do this, just because it didn't work that time does not mean it's gonna work this time. Let me revisit the plan. Maybe there was something in the plan that wasn't connected with my audience, or something with the plan that wasn't believable myself, which I didn't promote it that way. It's something like being around content creators, when they believe what they're selling, it's so attractive, because now I want to be a part of that, or I want to buy that, because I'm excited to really see that this is believable for you. And I think the more we start to analyze that, we start to realize that, hey, you know what? I want to achieve that, so let me get to this level. I want to get to this. Let me do this. But you have to be strategic, and sometimes you have to go back to your plan. When you're a creative, when you're trying to get things off the ground going, there's sometimes where you don't feel like doing it. Like last week was a week that I did not feel like doing it. But guess what? I know that I have to revisit the plan, and let me go over the why. Let me go over my purpose. Let me see, who am I helping? Who am I benefiting? There are too many people who are depending on you that you may know, you may not know of, for you to win. So your win is associated with other people's wins. So sometimes you have to revisit your plan because you want to make sure that you're giving your best foot forward, because you don't want to half step and realize that, man, my destiny was tied to somebody else, but I was so lackadaisical in my output and presentation that I really didn't care how I presented myself. So when I care about how I present myself, I'm going to make it my best to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to just put anything out. I want to come forth with excellence. Let me revisit my plan so I can be a better example to others.
So I'm over here taking a whole bunch of notes, and I wasn't prepared for you to end so soon. So I'm like, let me see if I can remember everything you said. So the first thing you said, I had to write down: the flow needs direction. Hello, okay.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes we try to come into the marketplace and go with the flow, and we have no direction on where we're going, and we are easily swayed from the left to the right, pulled in this direction and that direction. You need to have a website. No, you need to have a landing page. You need to not have a landing page. You could just do it on Linktree, or you could just do it on this one, or you could just have Calendly, or Calendly ain't that good, do Honeybook, and Honeybook ain't that great, do a cute. And you're just going from one to the next to the next, and then you find yourself like, I ain't made no money. I'm spending all of this money with
You didn't
all
even
these
start.
different things, and I had a friend call me I talked to a friend today, and I was like, I call her. I said, we're not going to do this paid Calendly account. I said, we're going to do a free Calendly account. I said, you're going to work your way up to a paid, because you have not earned the right to get a paid account just because you have a 9 to 5, right? Because sometimes if we are 9 to 5, and our 9 to 5, yes, you can funnel money into it, but there are some people that need to earn the right to go to the next level, and you have
Yes,
not earned that right. Get you about 2-3 clients, and then we could say, all right, I can sustain this $15 a month. Let me now add this. But you don't just go out here and start getting all the stuff because it's cute and because it makes you look good, and don't nobody know who you be. Right? You need to have a direction. Listen, the plan is what gives you direction when you enter into the flow of the marketplace, because there is a flow to this thing. And if you
yeah.
don't have a direction, or an aim or a plan to where you're going, you will be pulled in all different directions, and you will lose money very, very quickly. Money you have not even made yet. Then you said, oh, when you were talking about the plan, I was thinking about it, because the plan, I was a guest speaker for a young lady's webinar yesterday, and she was talking to her people about creating a business plan. Now, I was very frank. I didn't create a business plan in the beginning. It was only maybe a year or so into my business where I started researching, and then I did a lean canvas business plan. That's just a 1-page business plan. But that vivid vision script was a little bit more palatable for me, because I did not know the language of business. So when they were asking certain questions, and they were business oriented questions, I had no idea. So I need something on my level and my language, right? And then once I understood what they were really asking for, then I could translate that into the business plan. So what the business plan is, or whatever the plan is, the vision script that you have, it is just a story, a communication tool to remind you of the direction that you're going in. Because as humans, most of us don't have a vivid memory. Most of us don't have that, what they call that, the picture snapshot memory, where photographic memory, where you could see a thing and you remember it for the rest of your life. Like, you see somebody and you be like, oh, that person had a green shirt on with some blue pants, and I don't know why they wore that, because they didn't match their, Adidas. And like, I don't know. I can't hardly remember people's names, much less their faces, right? So if God gives me an image of the future, if I don't write it down, most likely Natalie gonna forget into the hustle when I get into the grind and the daily activity. So you need the plan to bring you back and keep you in the right direction, because there's so many things out there that's vying for your attention. And what distraction likes to do is distract. That's the
Mm.
purpose of distraction, is to distract you from the vision that God gave you so that you can go in every other direction except the one that's going to cause you to make the money that you were meant to make in the marketplace. And then what's the last thing I wrote down? Lord, who benefits from you being you? You said you're not showing up as yourself. You don't. You forget that when you in the market, when you just going with the flow, you forget that you are assigned to certain people. You forget that you were called to serve particular people. And when you don't go back to the plan, the people
Right.
that were meant to benefit from you being who you be, don't. That part right there. That was the main thing for me. The people that are called to your voice, that are called to your business, that you have the solution to the problem. When you forget about the plan, when you go off the beaten path and you do whatever it is that you feel like doing in the moment, the people that were meant to benefit from you being on the plan don't. Period. All right, I'm done. Because I ain't got nothing extra to add. I just wanted to amplify what you said.
That was good. So here's 5 reasons why it's crucial to visit a plan, to revisit it. All right. First thing is course correction. Um, Over time, I think as you're building the business and building like a lifestyle, you realize that circumstances change. You know, what worked once may not work now. So it's important to readjust and revisit the plan, because you want to allow for adjustments and course correction to ensure that you are having continued progress towards your goal. You know, course correction is so important. Like, I can't do what I did 5 years ago for business if the market is different. You got to think, when 2020 happened, I had to pivot drastically because I was used to making a certain type of money, but my pivot caused 2020 to be my most profitable years of business because I decided to pivot. Second thing is to adaptation. Markets evolve, technology comes into place. Like even today, I had hit Natalie. I'm like, Natalie, I'm looking at this e-course. I know we used to use Gifted before. We use Teachable. What do you see now that you're using that's really for you? So it doesn't mean I'm going to change my plan. I'm researching other avenues because we talked about online course maybe 2 years ago. So now what's out in the market, because Natalie is in the market more than I am about e-courses. So I want to make sure that I'm adapting new type of resources and funnels, because I want to make sure that what works best for me, because what works good for Natalie may not work best for me. And I think too is like sometimes you always want to switch to the next best thing. But let me see if what Natalie is saying is great because I trust her opinion. But let me see what works for me already. Like, you want to kind of balance that out. And I think what else it does is by revisiting the plan, it helps you maintain focus. It's super easy to get distracted or lose sight of the bigger picture. When days I feel like kind of down, what's the bigger picture, Josh? What is the bigger picture that you're missing out on? Because sometimes it goes back to, we talked about it often. There's 2 scriptures that really stand out to me about this is, it talks about, God looks high, he looks low. The second thing is Christ lives in me. So because I know that Christ is on an elevated plane looking down on my situation and he lives in me, that means I have to do the same thing, where I can't sometimes look at my situation directly. I have to look at the bigger picture. And sometimes by seeing the whole landscape of a thing, it makes you make better, wise decisions. When you're face to face with opposition, your reaction should not just be based on what's good for now, but is what's good for now as well as what's bigger for the bigger picture. Because sometimes we can make hasty decisions based off one wrong move. The next one is organization. I think when you start to revisit a plan, it helps you be organized. Like, there's always room for improvement. When my principal tells me, hey, Jay, I need you to work on this, I never am like, man, I've been teaching for 10 years. I know this subject. Because I know that I still have to submit to authority and he sees things that I may not see, I have to not look at it as somebody like ragging on me, but somebody is looking to better me, right? Because they see my value. Because sometimes people see your value and they want to say something to you, but they never want to like kind of, give you a word of wisdom because you're always so like uptight. So like if Natalie says something to me about something, I don't ever get offended because I know for a fact that she sees the bigger picture of me. So because of that, I take that criticism. This is why coaching is so important and having a coach, because when you have a coach, they see things you don't see. I was talking to my friends yesterday. I'm like, yo, we've been friends for a while, but you don't ask for help. And you're still at the place that we spoke last time. And it's not a thing about me not, trying to like, put you down, but I'm like, I believe in you that you can be much further than this. And because you're not really taking the advice or the criticism or whatever we have as like, oh, that's just my friend, but this is your friend that wants to see you win. So it helps you reorganize yourself. Like nobody is perfect. And I think too is I look for opportunities to improve, which is the reason why like I read my textbook, I travel so much. I look for ways to improve my culinary skill. I look for ways to be a better teacher. I look for ways to communicate information because I know sometimes when I communicate things, sometimes my students don't understand because of a language barrier or because I talk fast. So I make it my business to, hey, let me be better at this. Let me learn a different way because I want to perfect something, because I want to give my best foot forward. Like when people ask me, what's your favorite dish to make? Anything I do is going to be good. The reason why is I know the effort I put into making it great. One thing I tried last week that it wasn't it. I made vegan bacon, and I made it with, I saw the recipe with the rice paper, and you slice the king oyster thin, and then you like cook it, and it's like you making this liquid. You cook like regular bacon, but you know what I didn't do? I didn't cut my mushrooms thin enough. I didn't cut my rice paper. Like now I know because I'm like I took time to let me plan it again. So next time I put it out on the menu, if I ever put a menu, I'm going to give a perfected version because I'm always going to present my best self because I know there's always room for growth and making it happen. And last but not least, motivation. When you revisit a plan, it allows you to revisit because sometimes progress is not as fast as others, right? Some progress, it is like a turtle, right? Some progress is like a lion or a jaguar where there are different speeds that we're good at, or there's certain things that we get faster than other things. So I think by revisiting a plan, it gives you an opportunity to reflect on how far you come, and but it also reignites your motivation by visualizing the path. The Bible talks about the lamp, the light. God is a lamp unto my feet, a light into my path. Where sometimes, you know what, I may only see the little lamp to help me make small steps, or I may see the whole light down the whole tunnel and I can run it out. But I think that what happens is by taking a step back, whether you get a big idea or a little idea, it really helps you revisit things where I can see, let me see the bigger one, because I might have to visualize the path where that's why vision boards are so impactful. It's this journaling app now. They have, like, I don't know if anybody saw, but it's a new update on your iPhones. It's a journaling app where it posts different pictures you've been in, or it tells you different writing prompts. The reason why it's so impactful is I think sometimes we don't sit in our feelings long enough. Where, like, if you really address what's going on with you, you're able to honestly get freedom in different areas of your life. So if, let's say last week, like I wasn't feeling it, I was stressed out, but you know what I did first? I recognized that I had an issue. I recognized that the math wasn't math with me. And once I recognized that, I was able to pinpoint what was wrong. I'm like, okay, first thing, I need a trip. I need to go on vacation this weekend. I need to be around creative minds. I also need to pivot. Let me revisit my vision board, my ideas, because once you do that, you start to open your mind up to the why. And you know what? Let me pivot from this because there are too many people depending on me that I can't just slack off. I can't just, do it, because I want to do it as I'm doing it unto Christ. Like I want to make sure that my life is exemplar to excellence. The reason why like Daniel in the Bible is so valuable because he did things with excellence. When you do things with, like Natalie, I will say she is, because we're on the Zooms together, or the live rather. I've seen Natalie as when she first became a teacher to now. So when she goes live and when she presents content, it's so perfected. But I remember where she came from, and I realized that because Natalie has worked on having or adapting an excellent spirit, when she puts stuff out, it's always going to be clear. It's going to be different. It's going to make you want to make a move because she's been perfecting. No, I'm serious. You've been perfecting what you've been working on for 22 plus years. So it's like this clarity coach just didn't start over the last 4 or 5 years. It's been a thing because once you start getting clarity for your life, once you start working on your purpose and your dream, once you start being excellent in one area, it's contagion. It's contagious where if I'm excellent in this area, you know what? It makes you want to be better in this area. Then the next thing you go, because you want to maximize your presence in the earth, because once you do one thing with value, it's like, let me do something else with value. And let me do this with value. Let me do this with value, because you see the impact you're making, that it makes you want to be better and it makes you want to go forth and just really just do great things.
Oh man, thank you so much for saying that, because that's the one thing that actually helps me in entrepreneurship. It was like I was such a bad teacher, and I can look at myself and say, from where I started to where when I left the you know education, left the classroom, I'll say I never left education.
Mm.
It was such a drastic change for who I be, that I was like, if I could do it there, I could do it here. So it didn't, like, immediately, it was like, just keep doing the things that you did while you were a teacher in entrepreneurship, and you'll be able to be successful. But we do have Shanta was can you make us rich?
Oh,
She had a question. Shantae.
I'm just seeing
You
this.
said she clowned around. I went on your page. I was like, oh, we got a question. Let me go answer this
This is my
child. And I
sister.
looked, okay.
Yeah, this is my sister.
But you know what? I figured that we could answer that question, because even though she was clowning, that is a great question that she asked, because a lot of people will get with a coach and in their mind they will think, can you make me rich?
Mm-hmm.
So for us as coaches, what do you think? Do you think that we have the ability to make our clients rich?
I will say everything is up to you. Like, so for example, is during 2020 to 2020, probably like two, I've tried with some dynamic coaches and cooked for them, and they are rich, right? So, but there's been certain things that they told me to do that I did not do. There are things that they did say I did do, but I might have not done consistently. So I think what happens is, I think the first thing is understanding your purpose. I think what happens is when we get in the used to life being life, that I think sometimes we don't really seek out our purpose. Like my sister, she has three beautiful daughters. I love my nieces. My sister is an excellent mom. I don't know if she's still on, but she might cry a little bit. My sister is an excellent mom, right? She's been so hard working at being a mom that now my niece, my youngest niece, is like, she's a freshman in high school, or she's gonna be a freshman. So now I think the beautiful part about it is now my sister can focus on what does she love to do. Like, I think that when you're in life, you get so used to living life, you get used to making things work, because you have people that depend on you, that sometimes you forget about yourself. Like even my mom has worked so hard on my sister and I being successful, that now that we're grown, it's really dope to see my mom to like find out what you want to do. Your focus, like, and I think from the parent point of view, parents are, when they have kids, their focus becomes on their kids, and I think they forget about themselves. And so oftentimes parents' purpose becomes to take care of kids, when that's part of it. But then it's just like, when they leave, what do you have for yourself? And I think it's so important. The first thing is about becoming rich is, without like discrediting your situation, without discrediting what life is, let me focus on what is my purpose. Because what happens is, when you start to focus on your purpose, sometimes you got to take a step back from certain things, but I feel like you become more intentional with certain things, right? So for example is when I realized, like, I love teaching, right? Teaching is a part of one of my gifts, but I don't feel like that's my lifelong purpose of education, to be in a classroom. So I know that for a fact, right? I'm good at it, but doesn't mean it's my overall goal. So like, I find myself always going back towards, let me go back to the center. Josh, what is your purpose? What are the things that make you happy? And I think the more you start to go back to the core, everything else works around you, because sometimes we do things and it really hides the fact of what we really want, because we're used to putting stuff in front of us, where we put other people happiness in front of us. We put other, but now it's like, no, 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 no. Let me go to the core of finding my purpose, because once you find your purpose, you start to have clarity of everything in your life, right? Like the more, like the last week, I had to go back to my purpose because I realized there were certain things that I was doing that was great, but it didn't align with my purpose, or it didn't edify my purpose. So the first thing I'm always going to do is what edifies my purpose. And then I'll carry out living life, because what you realize is you put everybody in front of you except for you. And then you start living life to realize that, man, so and so's not looking out for me, or this isn't working the way I wanted it to. But did you really think about your purpose with starting it? And once you get identify your purpose, you start to deal with clarity, like what Natalie and I deal with. So once you start to deal with clarity, everything starts to make sense. But I realized that if I don't first always go back to my purpose, things in my life will sometimes not be clear because I'm not really being fulfilled. Where you could be fulfilled as a parent, you could be fulfilled as a teacher, you could be fulfilled as an entrepreneur. But when you really think about your purpose, my first alignment is my purpose. My first alignment is to let me sit time to meditate and focus on me, because as I start to do that, I can do the other things that I love, right? I can do all that great stuff, but is my core of me being satisfied by not focusing on my purpose? So as you focus on your purpose and get clarity of it and start to do that intentionally, it becomes a thing of ease of everything else in your life, because now I become so purposeful that everyone starts to benefit around me because of that. Like I can't be the best brother if I'm not in my purpose. I can't be the best teacher if I'm not in my purpose. Like I think that that's the biggest thing, is once you start identifying your purpose. Even though for me, like there's certain plans that I wanted to have early on, like with the resources, like, and I'm doing good financially, but I felt like I should be far sometime. But I start realizing that, Josh, that's not your race. So if you focus on your purpose, everything else will come. When you focus on your purpose, the riches will come. When you focus on your purpose, supply and provision will be. But you have to become so intentional about first focusing on your purpose, because clarity will come. Like once I realized that God is my source, that I'm able to focus on my purpose, all my needs are met. Like I never worry about my rent, because I realize that, hey, you know what? Because I'm in purpose, all my needs will be met, and God will give me clarity of how to pay it. Like even too, like there's certain things at work where, like my master's wasn't approved. And I think too, that really got on my nerves, because I'm like, man, so for 2 months, I was upset. I was like flustered. And guess what? I didn't put my best foot forward to go back to my purpose, because I allowed one thing to impact all my life, where I become stressed out. I wasn't happy. I wasn't eating as good. And I'm like, no, Jay, you got to stop. Focus on your purpose, because as you focus on your purpose, the crooked ways become straight. When you start focusing on your purpose, God starts aligning you like this. He starts to align you, where it's like, once you realize the purpose of your alignment period, where there's some things that are meant to be uncomfortable when you find your purpose, because there's so much joy on the other side of that. There's so much peace and answered prayer on the other side of that. But it takes you being intentional about finding your purpose and your dreams. Like it's so important to focus on your purpose, because the more you focus on that, everything else starts to manifest itself. Like for me, like my goal is to be, I'm not there at millionaire status, but you know what? I will be, because guess what? Every day I'm looking at it as a day to be in, to full of intention, to full of purpose, to full of just like joy, full of love, because I'm focused on my purpose. Everything else makes sense. Even on my worst day, when you focus on your purpose, it's like, man, you know what? It wasn't so bad at all. I got a roof over my head. You start finding things to be grateful for. You start having the attitude of gratitude that always helps you win. And the next thing you know, you check your bank account. It's like, man, you know what? This is what I've been praying for it, but not realizing, because I've been focused on my purpose, not making the money. I focus on the purpose, and the money is attracted to that. That's my answer for that. What about you?
I totally agree. And I love that you said purpose brings clarity. And that's why when people come to work with me, if they don't have a vision or if they don't have purpose, right? I'm like, I can't help you find purpose and vision. I can only help you get clarity on what is already there. So I send them to Chef J. But I say the answer is, I want to say yes and no, but it's really no. Only because I think that as coaches, we can point them in the right direction, but we can't make them believe something about themselves if they don't decide that this is what it is. We can give
Mm-hmm.
you all the evidence, we can give you all the strategy, we can, pump you up. It's like telling, a young lady that they're beautiful, but if they don't actually look in the mirror and see that they are beautiful, they will always counteract whatever it is that you're saying, right? There's one of my favorite scriptures is Revelation 2:9. And this is where Jesus is talking to the seven churches. And he's talking to the church in Smyrna who are entrepreneurs, right? And who are, used to buying and selling in the marketplace. And he says this to them: I know your tribulation, I know your works and poverty, but you are rich. I know the slander of those who claim to be Jews and are not, but are rather are assemblies, members of the assembly of Satan. Do not be afraid of anything that you're going to suffer. So Jesus, when I read this, it was literally like God highlighting to me, even though you are experiencing tribulation, even though you are experiencing poverty, even though you are working,
Mm-hmm.
you are rich. Rich does not define you by the things that you have. It is part of your identity. And when you begin to see that you are wealthy and you are rich beyond the things that you have, like it's
Mm-hmm.
intrinsically who you are. I'm a rich woman. Then the things that you're trying to manifest have no other recourse but to come looking for you, because you have already adapted that as part of your identity. Nobody got to tell me that I'm a Black woman. I know
Mm-hmm.
that I'm a Black woman. Nobody got to tell me that I'm Caribbean. I know that's who I be. I've stepped into that identity and I own it and claim it as myself because it's just who I am. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to convince nobody. Like, people automatically move around me as though I am the Black woman, right? When you get into the room. And so the same thing when you understand that you are rich and you are wealthy, when you step into certain places, and it's not always about the money. One thing I know about money, it always shows up last of the party. Okay. Whenever you're looking at wealth, money is like the last thing that comes with all the wealth. You have to decide, first of all, that's your identity. Then you
Mm-hmm.
have to say, okay, as a wealthy woman, how do I move? How do rich people move? They really value relationships. That's why they'll put a lot of stuff on credit so that they can get in the rooms with the right people. Chef J said, I have been around millionaires already. That's why he's already seen an image of who he be, because he's around millionaires. Millionaires don't like to be around broke people.
That part.
They don't like to be around poor people because poor people have a way that they move and they act and they talk. And if they keep Chef J around them, they obviously know that he's also a millionaire as well. His money is just, like he said, showing up late to the party, and eventually it will get there. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay, right? But you have to know that that's who you are first. And as coaches, we can tell you that you are wealthy, just as Jesus tells us that we are rich. But everybody in the church, everybody ain't the king in the kingdom, don't believe that. So if God, who knows all things, who is all things, who created all things, can tell me who I am and I still reject it, how much more can a coach tell you, baby, this is the way, and you reject it? If you don't accept
That's
the
good.
word to be who you are, then no, I can't help you be rich. But if you've decided that you're going to believe not what I said, but what the Bible says, Revelations 2:9, that you are who God says you are, eventually the money will find you. Because remember, that joker always show up late to the party. Listen,
That
you
part.
already know you go to work and they don't pay you the first day that you show up for work. They pay you after
That's
you've
it.
done the work. Shows up late to the party. So don't worry about it. When you've decided that this is who you are, you will begin to see the millions being drawn to you. That's how you manifest the thing. You be who you be, and everything around you has to get into place. Last thing I'll say, when the queen enters into a room, when she used to enter into a room, right? Everyone around her would scurry and get things in position. She did not have to make a move. She did not have to say, I am the queen. I'm here. You need to get everyone and everything around her got into position because they knew who she was. That's the same. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Because she knew who she was. That's the same thing with the things around us. When we begin to identify with our God given identity, everything around us is going to get into position, including our money. All right, that's it.
Listen, I'm trying to be like you and type these notes in the chat. I'm trying to be
They
uh
better catch the
putting notes. I
replay.
think that's important. I think the biggest thing of the going back to our topic about revisiting the plan is because sometimes you have to identify who you are, because so oftentimes we can go through life and forget who we are and whose we are. And the more you identify with who you are, you start to act accordingly. It's about behavior. If I know I'm successful based on my plan, I start to speak success, start to be success. But you got to revisit that plan to know who you are. And I think that was really dope. That's it for today. We talked about going back over the 5 steps. Let me go back over again. 5 things to remember when revisiting a plan. Well, the importance of it is it helps correct your course. It helps you to really to adapt better, to make to evolve, to be adapt to the times. 3, it helps you maintain your focus. It's easy to get distraction, but you know what? One thing about going back to the start is you get to maintain your focus. Helps you get back on track. Optimization, it helps you to make room for improvement. And lastly, it gives you motivation, helps you identify who you are, to be excited again. My friend yesterday, I was making my e-course. She said, "You don't sound excited enough." I was doing something. And then after I started to really think about, my, yo, bro, you about to drop a brand new dope e-course. Let's get excited about that. So it helps you get excited and motivated. And it's like the first date all over again, the butterflies that you feel, the excitement, because it's something that's fresh and something that's new. So if you are looking for coaching for clarity, hit Natalie up. For purpose, my e-course is dropping on April 15th. So I'm excited about that 6-week online course. So look out for that pretty soon, guys. So have a wonderful week on purpose. You are meant to be great. If you need help, reach out, because remember, closed mouths don't get fed, and it's time to boss up. So have a good week on purpose.